Alright, this is the brisket. It's come out of the refrigerator. The fat is congealed here up on the top. I've already taken some of it off with a spoon, just lightly taking that off. And try to leave the gravy in there. Leave the onions. If you have a little bit of fat like that, you can leave it if you want. It's not a big deal. Okay.
Okay. Record.
Okay. And what I'm going to do is take the onions and the ketchup that are on the top. The large slices of the onions are what were underneath the brisket cooking. You can see the little pieces of onion over here mixed in with the ketchup. That's what cooked on the top. So I'm just going to move all that to the side into the gravy itself. And then I'm just going to take the brisket out of the gravy and put it on the cutting board.
Go.
And here's the brisket coming out of the gravy. And just move it onto your cutting board like that. Actually, you want to put it top side down so you get a good clear, if you can move in a little bit, you get a good clear look at the grain going in this direction. So I'm going to want to cut directly perpendicular across against the grain like that. Okay, and I'm actually not going to do this in that direction, with the bottom side up, because if you look from the side, you can see that there's a big gap in there, and if you start cutting that down, it's going to just break up the meat. So I'm going to flip it over, but just pay special attention to which way the grain is running. So the grain is running in this direction. You can see it's going like that. So I'm going to just go perpendicular to it. That's a little over a quarter of an inch thick. You can do it a little thicker if you decide you like it. I may do it a little bit thicker, maybe a third of an inch.
You shouldn't have your fingers near the knife.
My fingers are near the knife. And then once you start to get to the thick pieces, this is how I do it. So set up each slice, just holding it firmly like that, and you rock it so that side goes in, and you just cut right through. If you use a serrated knife going back and forth, it'll rip it right across this grain, and it won't come out in nice slices. If you look at this slice, it's just a good slice of brisket. Just set that up, set it in the meat, and then just kind of rock it until the sharp side, the tip side goes down. And just keep going. Just like that. Maybe pause it one more time. Okay, now the chef's knife has proved too small for the brisket once you get into the larger. I have a 10-inch, once you get to the larger slices, I have a 10-inch slicing knife. You can see what happens when you don't get as much control, so it comes out a little bit thicker or too thin or whatever, but you don't have the same control. So with this, you can see I just hold my fingers on the spine of the knife, sort of rock it back and forth. And then at the end, just slice through the last little bit at the bottom. Again, maybe just about there.
If you don't have a knife that's long enough, what can you do?
And if you don't have a knife that's long enough,
You cut the brisket in half. down the middle and do it here.
You could do that, or if you have a knife, let's say if that's this length, you could set it in on one part, then move it to the other part, and rock it down. And if you notice, I'm actually using the part of my hand over here, the side of the hand, just to push down on the spine of the knife there. But if you have a longer slicer, it clearly works better. And then what you do is you just put it all back together. And sometimes it takes slow rocks to do this. Like you rock back and forth very slowly, and then at the end, you have a little bit of a slice. Keep your fingers away from the slicing area there. So when you want to put it back together, you take a spatula, put it under here. You'll be able to pull this whole thing back up, put it back in the casserole with the liquid, and then you're ready to heat it up, or in the casserole, or you can put it into a pan, cover it, and heat it up that way when you're ready the next day.
Yeah, it might not have a pan big enough.
Yeah.
Go.
If when it gets a little thick like this, when you get to the thicker part of the brisket, it's kind of hard just to rock it. So what you do is keep your finger, your knuckle bent like that, your finger, so that way your tips of your fingers are never near the knife, and then you can move your hand away once the knife is set. But you see, I'm actually going through with a slicing motion there. And then once you get through, I got the TV, and once you get through the bottom, closer to the bottom, then you can just rock it. The rest of it after this, you put it back in the casserole with the sauce. I'm not going to bother showing that. You can take the onions, move them off to the side, or put them in a bowl so they're not all underneath the brisket. That way the brisket sits at the bottom of the casserole, and then you can put the onions on top of it if you want, or around it.
Add salt and pepper.
Add salt and pepper, whatever you need to taste as you're heating it up. Okay, that's it. Bye.